Now, about the Tea Parties, contrary to what some have said, we are not anti-government. The government does some things very well, and those aspects of government are good for society, protecting liberty, providing defense, upholding the law, and promoting commerce. Proper roles of government must be funded. So we are not anti-tax either. But when the government gets involved outside its proper bounds, things go terribly wrong. So as a Tea Party, we are about less government than what we have now. And we are about lower taxes than what we have now, because we are taxed enough already. And we are in favor of more local government, because the more local we can keep it, the easier it is to watch, the easier it is to be involved, and the easier it is to change. But no matter what level of government we're talking about, the citizens, you must be involved. You must be the watchdogs that bring the government dirty laundry into the light. You are the voice that reminds legislators who they should be serving, and you must watch what the government is funding. Remember that we get more of what we subsidize. I'll repeat that. You get more of what you subsidize. For example, if you extend the length of time that people get unemployment benefits, you are subsidizing unemployment. And what does that mean? It means we get more unemployment. This is just one example, but every time you hear of a government program, remember that saying, we always get more of what we subsidize. Tea Party started as a way to protest, and now we are moving beyond just protests and rallies. Rallies are important. They remind you that you are not alone, that truly you are the American majority. And rallies help us grow. But protecting and holding rallies does not change government or politics by itself. Elections change government. Votes on bills and issues change politics. Politics and government change our society. Elections have consequences. So what must we do? We must influence elections. We must influence votes on bills. We must influence what issues are deemed important by our politicians to work on. So how can you get involved, and how can you be most effective? First, you need to know that every one of you has something to offer. There is something valuable that each of you can bring to this effort. You will discover that you have the talents and skills needed to make a difference in some way. Know that you do not have to be good at the same thing as someone else. We need every skill and every tool available to get our country back. Whatever your talents are, they are important and they are needed.
We stand here today like Samuel Adams, in a different time, in a different place, but we fight the same foe, the tyranny of our government. Two centuries ago, our founders were being taxed against their will by a corrupt government, without proper representation and without a true voice. That sounds really familiar. Let me see. A 2,700-page bill, not read by any of our representatives. $2.5 trillion more spent to pay for it with money that we have to borrow. Bribes, backroom deals, lie after lie after lie. No support of the minority party. 63% of American people against it. Thousands marching on the Capitol steps for weeks before the vote. And now, it's the law of the land. That's wrong. That sounds like tyranny to me. That sounds like tyranny to you? So I'm often asked, John, what's really in this new healthcare law? I have studied and reviewed as much as I can, and I can tell you I've read a lot more than the people that voted for it. I've looked at what it contains, and I can confidently say this. It is a complete and total dismantling of the entire amazing American medical system as we know it. It mandates that every American must buy health insurance under IRS scrutiny. I like to call that a breath tax. That's right, a breath tax. If you breathe, you pay. It sets up an army of federal bureaucrats, including those who ultimately decide for you how much you should receive, how much health care you should receive, what kind, and whether or not you qualify at all. Never in America's history has our government claimed the power to decide when each of us has lived well enough or long enough to be refused life-saving medical assistance. It strips $1/2 trillion from Medicare, reducing payments to home health, to hospice, rehabilitation centers, ambulance services, and dialysis centers. It penalizes primary care physicians like myself. I'm a general internist. It penalizes us for sending patients to specialists or for ordering tests for seniors. Have you heard of the Independent Payment Advisory Board? It's called the IPAB. You're going to love this. First, it's appointed by the president and does not require congressional approval. Sounds like a board of czars to me. This board will decide all Medicare funding changes, and any recommendation made by this board becomes law unless it is reversed by Congress. So now that we're all depressed, I want to give you hope. All is not lost. The most significant portions of this monster do not go into effect for several years. We can change this law. Representative Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, who is one of my heroes, recently said this: Americans are preparing to fight another American revolution, this time a peaceful one with election ballots, but the causes of both are the same. He asked, should unchecked centralized government be allowed to grow and grow in power, or should its powers be limited and returned to the people? Should irresponsible leaders in a distant capital encouraged to run up scandalous debt without limit that crush jobs and stall prosperity, or should the reckless be turned out of office and a new government elected to live within its means? Should America bid farewell to exceptional freedom and follow the retreat to European social welfare paternalism? Or should we make a new start in the faith that boundless opportunities belong to the workers, the builders, the industrious, and the free? What kind of nation do we wish to be? What kind of society will we hand down to our children and future generations? In the coming watershed election, the nature of this unique and exceptional land is at stake. We will choose one of two different paths. And once we made that choice, there is no going back. This is not the kind of election I would have preferred, but it was the one forced on us by the leaders of our government.
We're dadgum angry at the arrogant, elitist, communist, Marxist in Washington and around this country that are cramming their agenda down our throats, and they don't care whether we like it or not. Let me talk a little bit, just a smidgen, about health care. I know a little about it, I guess. John knows a whole lot more. But I think I can put it in a few simple words. There will always be a finite amount of medical care to give out. Not everybody can have an MRI in their closet and a surgeon standing right next to it ready to take your gallbladder out when you're done. At the same time, there's infinite demand for medical care. Sorry folks, everybody gets old and everybody dies. That's the way of it, and you can't pass laws that are going to change that any. That being the case, there's always going to be more demand than supply, and so you got to have to figure out who gets it and who doesn't. My question to you is, Do you want to figure out how much you get by your own hard work and thrift? Or do you want to let some bureaucrat politician tell you how much you get by the amount of power that he garners from it? I would rather die young and be free than live for 1,000 years under the yoke of Obama and his henchmen.